Students, in previous session we had discussed about magnets, that how magnets were discovered, about natural and artificial magnets, magnetic and non-magnetic materials, how magnets are used to find directions, properties of magnets, how earth behave as a magnet, and what are the methods used to demagnetize a magnet. Now in today's session we will discuss about chapter 14 of your science textbook, that is water. So first of all, let's take a view on the topics we will discuss here. So in this chapter you will learn about importance of water, how much water do we use, from where we get water, states of water, water cycle, what happens if it's rain heavily, what happens if it does not rain for a long period, how can we conserve water, and rainwater harvesting. Okay, so starting with introduction, that also includes the importance of water. So about water, have you ever think which substance do you use in maximum amount during the whole day? Obviously it's water. Water is one of our basic needs. Water is life. We cannot live without water. All living things, plants and animals, need water to live. If there is not available of water to plants and animals, they will ultimately die. Without water, there would be no living things on this earth. So we, means human beings, cannot live without water. We need water for drinking, cooking food, washing utensils, cleaning floors, brushing teeth, bathing, washing clothes, watering plants, etc. etc. We have listed here the various activities for which we use water in homes. So, here see, human beings depend on water more than just to stay alive. We need it for our way of life. First, for our body. Every organism consists mostly of water, and the human body is about 70% water by weight. So water plays an important role in various life processes like digestion, circulation, excretion. They help to regulate the body temperature. Water helps body to absorb nutrients. They helps to remove waste. Water is used in many day-to-day activities like bathing, cleaning utensils, washing clothes, flushing toilets, watering plants. These are the domestic uses of water. The consumption of water by a person depends on his living standard. And as the living standard of a person improves, his requirement of water also increases. Water is also used by animal for drinking purposes. Okay? For the seed dispersal. See, water of rivers and sea help in the dispersal of seeds of several plants and trees. This happens that the seed of various plant and trees that located near the bank of rivers or seas, they fall on the water of river and seas, and these seeds float on the water and are carried away to far away the places. And when these seeds reach the land, they germinate to produce the plants and trees in that area. Okay, so in this way several varieties of plants and trees spread from one place to another. Next, use in irrigation. See, in irrigation, water is also used in agriculture for growing plants. The farmers grow various types of crops like wheat, rice, pulses, fruit, vegetables. Water needs to grow all kinds of crop plants which provide us food. In fact, the largest amount of water is used for irrigation of crops in agriculture. This is because the water requirements of food producing plants are very high. Okay? Now next is about the industrial waste. Used. What are the use of water for industry purposes? They use water for almost all the things that we use for making paper, clothes, medicines, chemicals, bread, biscuit, and many other things. Like the making of paper used in each page of this book is consume about 2 glasses of water in the paper mill. Okay. They manufacture goods, dispose of waste and generate power, and most is used to cool the power plant. Next use is in the transportation. Water in rivers and the seas is used as a transporting passengers and goods from one place to another by boats, sailing boats, motor boats and ships. So water is also used as for the transportation. Now the question is, from where do we get water? The water which we used is obtained from the sources such as rivers, lakes, ponds, well and springs. So where does the water come from to fill the rivers, lakes, ponds and well? The rivers get their water from the melting snow laying on the peaks of snow mountain, that is glaciers, and form from the rains. And same for lakes and ponds and wells, they get their water from the rains. So the main source of water is rainwater, and rainwater is the purest form of water. Okay, rainwater is not salty, so it is fit for drinking. Now, first we will discuss later about the water cycle. So in order to understand water cycle, we first should know the various physical state in which water can exist in different conditions. Although we normally think that water as a liquid, but water can also be a solid or gas under appropriate conditions. The ice, you have seen the ice. The ice which we take out from the freezer of a refrigerator is the frozen water or solidified water. So ice is solid water, or in other words we can say that ice is the water in solid state. Snow is also the solid state of water. Now what about tap water? Tap water is the liquid state of water, and water vapor is the gaseous state of water. Okay. So from the above discussion, we conclude that the ice, water and water vapor are the same substance, but they are in different physical state. That is, ice is a solid, water is a liquid, whereas water vapor is a gas. Thus water can be solid, liquid or gas, or water can exist in 3 states, that solid, liquid and gases. So how water can be changed from one state to another? Simply by heating or cooling. For example, when ice is heated, it melts and changes into water. When water is cooled too much, it freezes and changes into ice. When water is heated, it evaporates and changes into water vapor. And when water vapor is cooled, it condenses and changes into liquid water. So basically, the process are here for freezing, melting, evaporation and condensation. So during water cycle in nature, water goes through these changes of state. Now next about water cycle. You might have known maximum things about the water cycle. The continuous circulation of water from the earth's surface to atmosphere and from the atmosphere back to the earth. This is called water cycle in nature. So how this happened, this complete diagram, how this process exists from starting to end. See, heat from the sun evaporate water from the river. Okay, means river, lakes and ponds, oceans and soil also. they form water vapor. Now this water vapor goes into the air. The air containing water vapor is heated by sun and the hot air being lighter, and they rise high in the sky. And at high altitude it is cold. So when the air containing water vapor rises to the high altitude, the water vapor present it get cold, and the cold water vapor condense to form the tiny droplet. This we had discussed now in previous slide, that the water vapor condense to form liquid water. So when it goes to the high altitude, the water vapor condense to form tiny droplets of water. And these tiny droplets of water, they form cloud in the sky. Now what happened next? The tiny droplets of water in the cloud join together to form the bigger droplets. And these drops of water fall on the earth in the form of rain. Now water formed by the melting of snow. See how snow, you might have seen about the or hear about the snowfall. In very cold region, the water drop in the sky freezes to form snow, ice. So water falls down to the earth in the frozen state called snow. And at normal temperature it falls down as a rainwater. So water formed by the melting of snow and from the rainwater, it fills the river and finally goes into ocean. So in this way, water which was taken from the earth returns to the earth, and hence the water cycle is completed. This water cycle never ends. It is a continuous process in nature. Two things are there that the importance of water cycle in nature. First, that water cycle make fresh water available in the form of rain. And second, water cycle keeps the amount of water on the earth's surface constant. Now, we will discuss about evaporation. What is evaporation? Evaporation is the changing of water into water vapor. Okay? When we spread the wet clothes on a rope or wire, they dry up after some time. The water present in the wet clothes seems to disappear. Right? Actually, the water present in wet clothes evaporate by receiving heat from the sun to form water vapor. And this water vapor goes into air. So gradually all the water present in the wet clothes evaporate and the clothes become dry. Okay, so water need heat to evaporate to form water vapor. Clear about the evaporation? Next is about transpiration. Plants needs water to grow. So plants take this water from the soil, and plants use the part of this water to make their food and retain some of it in different parts. So the remaining water is released by the plant into the air as water vapor through the stomata. So the loss of water from plants as a water vapor through stomata is called transpiration. Okay? The loss of water from plants as a water vapor through the pores of their leaves, this is called transpiration. Next is about condensation. Condensation is the reverse process of evaporation. Means the process in which water vapor changes into liquid. And how this happens? You have seen the glass, that tiny droplets of water appear on outer surface of glass that containing cold ice water. Or if we took out a bottle of ice cold water from the refrigerator, keep it on the table, then the puddle of water, droplets of water is formed around it after some time. This is because when the water vapor present in the air, it comes in the contact with the cooled surface of bottle, it becomes cool and condensed to form the liquid. You also have seen during the winter season, winter morning, many times we see a thick white cloud like things near the ground which reduces our visibility. That is fog. Fog consists of cloud of tiny water droplets suspended in the air. Okay. So condensation is the process in which water vapor changes into its liquid form. Now how clouds are formed? The process by which clouds form, or what are the process of the cloud formation? See, two main process, evaporation and condensation. They play important role in cloud formation. Even though the clouds are absent in the crystal clear blue sky, water is still present in the form of water vapor and droplets which are too small to be seen. So depending on the weather condition, water particles will combine with tiny particles, dust and smoke in the air to form clouds, which grow and develop into clouds and form the water that we can see. So this process occurs higher in the sky where the air is cooler and more condensation occurs relative to the evaporation. Okay. One word is here, precipitation. Precipitation is the water in its liquid or solid form falling from the base of cloud. Now talking about water. There are two extremities of rainfall, that is flood and drought. See, in India, most of the rainwater occurs during the monsoon season. First, we will talk about flood. How this happens, what are the causes, and what are the adverse effects of flood. So in India, most of the rainfall occurs during the monsoon season, that is from July, August and September. It may bring relief after the hot summer days. But just too little rain is bad, too much rain is bad as well. Excess of rain may lead to flooding. That is, level of water rises in rivers, lakes and ponds and they spread over the large areas. Okay. So what are the adverse effects of flood on soil, people, on domestic animals, on ponds, rivers and dams? First, talking about soil, top fertile soil get eroded and the nutrients are washed away. So the next crop cannot be grown. Due to waterlogging, crops dry. On people, scarcity of food items affects the people. Some human beings are carried away by flooding water and they die. Many disease-causing germs start multiplying and causes water-borne diseases. Sometimes water-borne diseases can even lead to the epidemic, affecting thousands of the people at the same time. And of course, due to the lack of transportation and communication, the life is disturbed. On domestic animals, flood causes death of animals as these are drowned or carried away by the heavy flow of water. It affects the health and increase infection of animals due to the germs produced. On ponds, river and dams, it causes the death of, due to the overflowing of water take place, it causes the death of aquatic plants and animals, and availability of fish decreases, which affect the earnings of fishermen. So these are the adverse effects of flood. Now talking about drought. If it does not rain in a region for a long time, it causes drought. So what are the effects of drought? The lack of rain causes farm crops to wither. The livestock may die. Extreme drought can lead to many humans dying. See, on soil, first the effect on soil. Soil become too dry to plough and barren for cultivation. On people, it can lead to the human deaths due to poor drinking water. People become more vulnerable to disease and less resistant to the illness like diarrhea. About domestic animals, due to scarcity of water, their health and productivity affected, and they have to travel a long distance in the search of drinking water. This scarcity of water, seeds do not germinate and crops are destroyed. On ponds, river and dams, the water level decreases and the quality of water is affected. So it increases the water pollution that badly affect the growth of aquatic plant and animals. Clear? So there are two extremities of rainwater. If it falls too much, it causes flood. And if it does not rain for a region for a long time, it causes drought. So these are the two extremities of rainwater. Now next is conservation of water. How can we conserve water? Earth has a tremendous amount of water, and most of the water on earth is in the oceans. But the ocean water is highly saline, due to which we cannot use directly for the purpose of drinking, irrigation and industry. So only a small fraction of water available is true for uses, fit for our uses for plants and animals. And it decreasing with overuse. So demand of the water is increasing day by day because of the number of people using the water increasing and due to the rising in population. So we have to conserve water. Conservation means the wise and judicious use of water without wasting is known as conservation of water. So methods for conserving water. Conservation of forests, planting new plants, preventing water pollution, building of dams for rainwater harvesting. Apart from that, small steps can be taken to conserve water. That is, while taking water for drinking, we should take only just enough to quench our thirst. We should make economical use of water while taking bath or washing clothes. The tap should be turned off immediately after using the water, and the leaking tap should be repaired immediately. So these are the some important steps that we can take to conserve water. Now water can conserve by the rainwater harvesting. What is rainwater harvesting? We collect water, rainwater for the further use. See, the activity of collecting rainwater directly or store it in a big tank for later use, or making the rainwater percolates into grounds for more efficiently to recharge the groundwater. This is called rainwater harvesting. Okay, so there are mainly two techniques of rainwater harvesting. First is rooftop rainwater harvesting, and second one is rainwater harvesting from the open space. Okay, so first we will talk about the rooftop rainwater harvesting. See, in rooftop, their purpose to collect water falling on roof and store it in the big tank for later use, or collecting the rainwater falling from the roof, okay, and keep the ground to recharge the groundwater. In one method where we collect the rooftop water, the rainwater collecting on the roof of the house and is brought down through the water pipe collect it in the big underground tank made of concrete, and this water may contain soil particles from the roof and need to be filtered before use. So the stored rainwater can be used in times of water scarcity. Clear about this? First we collect the roof water and keep that water through the water pipe and collect in the big underground tank that is made up of concrete, and because it contains some soil particles also, so before using it we have to filter it. Okay. Second is about the open space. The rainwater harvesting from the open space around the building in the city is done by the constructing percolation pits. See here, pits are formed and concrete slabs having the holes in them and connected to a recharge well through a pipe, and the recharge well is about 1 meter in diameter or 3 meter deep. See, collecting pits are made and they are connected to the well. So when these pits are filled with rainwater, they transfer the water to the well and other source of underground water. Okay. So the main purpose of rainwater harvesting is not to hold rainwater on the surface of earth, but to make the rainwater under the ground for more efficiently so as to recharge the groundwater also. Clear? So what we had learned about this chapter? That water is essential for our life. Only 3/4% of 4 fraction of earth is covered with water, and there is only 0.01% of water is available to us for consumption. So sources of water are rainwater, rivers and lakes, seawater and groundwater. Then we talk about the water cycle, that is the circulation of water in nature. Then what are the need to conserve water? How can we conserve water? What are the 3 different states of water? That is solid, liquid, gas. Ice as solid, water as liquid, and water vapor as gas. And of course that extremities of rainwater, that is flood and drought. Okay. So students, that's all about the water. I hope you all get it very well. Thank you.